Panthers passed?
The Black Panthers still exist, and the Black Panthers are still extremely active in the Oakland community and in communities all over the country. I'm not sure whether you are aware of what is now happening in the...
Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to?
50 years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation.
All right, y'all. So, hi guys. Welcome back to Mariah's Soapbox. If you have not already subscribed, make sure you go so and do that. This is Black History Month.
Yes, it is.
It is Black History Month.
Every day of every month.
Our day
is Black History Day. Okay.
Year.
Every month is Black History Month.
Team we're winning.
Okay.
Team.
Especially August.
August, most definitely. It's Black History Month, y'all. So, if you have not watched my last video, it's about HBCU. Knowing about HBCUs, getting to know HBCUs. One of my girlfriends from Howard and I were discussing, was it lit in the yard? Was it a great place for us to go? Was it really a place that prepared us for the world? But it is Black History Month. I'm super excited. So this is our second video for Black History Month. Second video for our History Month, the World History Month, everybody's History Month, because Black people have done so many things for everybody's community, done so much for the world, created so many inventions that are not only used by Black people but white people, Spanish people, Asian people, by everybody in the world. So that leads us into our topic today. Our topic is misconceptions of people in Black history, and also just facts that you may have not known about Black history. But just to give you a little history about Black history, which started off as Negro History Week in 1926, it is founded by Carter G. Woodson, and it turned into a month celebration in 1976, and is now known as Black History Month, our History Month. So, one fun fact that I think that people really don't know about Black History Month, the Black History Movement, the modern day civil rights era, would be about Rosa Parks. You know who that is? Rosa.
Sis, school me.
Row your boat.
Rosa?
So Rosa Parks was known as one of the leading, I would say, women in the civil rights movement, where she's that lady that is known for not getting up out of her seat on the bus, but literally sitting there when the white bus driver asked her to get off, and she did not, so they escorted her off the bus. But one of the misconceptions and the misleading facts that people think is she was the first one. You want to know who it was?
Who was it?
It was Claudette Colvin. She was the first one to do that, and she did it well before Rosa Parks did, but they gave the glory and the fame to Rosa Parks, whom worked for the NAACP. So in my humble opinion, I believe that they chose Rosa Parks to be the forefront and the face of that movement, because she had connections within, you know, Black heavy movement organizations at the time versus Claudette Colvin, who happened to be a 15-year-old at the time. So Rosa was older, she was more seasoned in the community, she had a more polished look, she was a fair-skinned woman, versus Claudette was a darker skin toned woman, she was younger, and you know, Rosa already worked for some of the leading developing leaders in that modern day civil rights era. So that is definitely one of the misconceptions. So I wanted to bring that to y'all. Make sure you let other folks know what you know about some misconceptions.
So I'm gonna start off with my man Malcolm Shabazz, or Lorette, or as we like to call him, Malcolm X. So I know you know who that is, Miss History major in college.
I'm reading a little biography.
Okay, I definitely read his autobiography as well. And I'm going to tell y'all 2 misconceptions about Malcolm X.
As told by Alex Haley, if you wanted to know who wrote it.
Yep. So with Malcolm X, two misconceptions that most people think he has done or he was pushing out was, a lot of people believe that he was a civil rights leader. Malcolm X was not a civil rights leader. Malcolm X was a human rights leader. That's one. Two, he became a human rights leader towards the end of his life after going on a pilgrimage to Mecca and realizing that racism and inequality is across the world, not just in America, and black and brown people are suffering all across the world. So this became a human rights issue, not just a civil rights issue.
Right.
So that's one of the biggest
Because guess what? Black people are humans.
Right.
Wow, did you know that?
Sometimes I'll be forgetting.
Oh my God, he was a human rights leader for human beings that are black.
You know, sometimes I think we aliens, but you know, or savages.
Fun facts.
Fun facts.
Didn't know. Glad to know now. Didn't know.
I'm glad to, tell you. You know what I'm saying?
You educated me.
Yes.
Dang.
Yeah. Because you're no longer ignorant now.
No, I'm no longer ignorant. I'm well versed and educated now.
Yes, I'm very proud.
I lack no knowledge. That's the term of ignorance.
If you didn't know. So, the second misconception about Malcolm X is the fact that he was violent. And a lot of people think that because he had rifles and he believed in telling black people that they need to arm themselves, it was like, oh, Malcolm X is violent. Actually, he was not violent.
Right.
Okay. He believed in self-defense. He was a person that believed in, if someone wants to hit me, my children, or my wife, my woman, or whatever
my
else,
family,
your family, or anybody that was a part of the Nation of Islam, that is when you would defend yourself
and use your amendment. Right.
Yes.
Which amendment is that in law school?
Ooh, caught me off guard there. I believe that's the Second Amendment.
Yes.
So, yes, he wasn't violent. He believed in self-defense like everybody else should. And I'm not a person that can allow somebody to hit me and me not do anything about it.
No, ma'am.
That's just me.
No,
I believe in self-defense.
Yes.
And that is your godly right outside of any type of religion you could think of. That is your godly right.
And that's on the periodical table.
Right.
I don't know.
And the criminal justice system, that's a little bit different, with self-defense laws. Not every state has a well-written self-defense law, aka New York. But
he said well-written, y'all do?
No, we don't.
Oh, not well-written.
Yeah, not well-written at all. But that's besides the point. But some states has a very well-written, a well-written self-defense law.
Right.
And some states don't.
I agree with you on the Malcolm X thing, because I do feel like they push the agenda of Malcolm X being deemed violent. And I feel like that parallel goes to Martin Luther King, because I feel like America deemed Martin Luther King as non-violent. I feel like that's a misconception as well. If you read some of his books, read some of the newspapers that came out during that time, Martin Luther King wasn't, to me, necessarily deemed non-violent. I feel like that was a push agenda on Martin Luther King, because he didn't start off that way. I feel like they pushed that agenda because he was known as the polished leader for the black people, who was able to be the liaison for the black people and speak to the white men in that time.
Right.
So they wanted him to look polished and clean and be able to say he's non-violent, because that would be able to push his narrative and his agenda further, versus Malcolm X, they pushed the agenda of him being deemed violent. So a lot of people weren't trying to have a seat at the table with him and discuss rights for black people and changing bills and amending things, So I thought they put Martin Luther King to be pushed and deemed as non-violent versus Malcolm X deemed violent. So, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of things that went on during the Civil Rights era. Push narratives, push notions.
Right.
There were a lot of positively deviant people that I respect that I'm not going to touch on too hard in this video, but I'm going to name their names because I feel like they worked, to me, hard enough. Right. In my humble opinion, they should be named. Like, I'm a big fan of Assata Shakur, very big fan of Denmark VC, very big fan of Angela Davis, who now is a professor in California. And I feel like those people work hard, and they definitely loved black people, where they were willing to sacrifice their lives and even their citizenship for America,
right,
for the betterment of our people, the betterment of black people, the betterment of human people. Yep. You have any more misconceptions?
To tag on to Martin Luther King, Martin Luther King actually owned guns. A lot of people don't know that.
He had a chopper.
He actually owned guns. And Martin Luther King also had the Black Panther Party guarding him.
He did.
As security. And a lot of people actually didn't know that as well.
Yeah.
You know? So although it might have seemed like their worlds were far apart, their worlds were more parallel than most people think. So that is definitely a misconception about Martin Luther King Jr.
Right.
Okay?
And that's on period.
And that is on the periodical table.
Here is another misconception that I view. Who do you think the first black billionaire was?
Was it Madam C.J. Walker?
Do y'all think it was, y'all think it's, Oprah and Beyonce?
Mansa Musa?
Y'all think it's Jay-Z, Hove? Y'all think it's Diddy? Last time that I checked. That's what y'all think? No, actually, the first true billionaire, not including all assets, billionaire, not billionaire. Madam C.J. Walker was the first millionaire. I was getting to her. But B stands for Big Benz, Big Body, Big Daddy. I don't know. B, billionaire, would be Bob Johnson, who was the owner of BET, who later sold it to, I believe, Viacom. He sold that network. So he was the first black billionaire. Big money. Big money. And he created, at one point in time, BET was actually all black, like was black owned.
Right.
And it's called Black Entertainment Television for people who do not know. Black Entertainment Television really stood for being black owned, and it was ran by black people, had black views, and it did not have to be censored like it is today, in my humble opinion.
Right. Because BET is not the BET that we grew up on.
No,
like, you remember
BET
106 and Park was popping. AJ and Free.
I love me some AJ and some Free, honey.
Like AJ and Free was like, they were so compatible as hosts.
Yes,
they literally matched each other's energy. It was always live. I feel like there was barely any drama. Like it was good energy all the time. You didn't see them beef with nobody. No, and I really appreciated their dynamic because it was so. I don't know, it was so chill, it was so cool, so hip, you know what I'm saying? And like they were able to blend into the R&B and rap world. Yes. A lot of people cannot do that.
And it was fly.
Yes.
I feel like Free and AJ should be pioneers within the black community when it comes to mass media.
Yes.
When it comes to being able to host things, because that's what I want to do one day, maybe. I feel like they were pioneers for us and broke doors and opened doors for us, for the younger culture generation. And I feel like it was a blessing to be able to have that, to show that we really can do it. We can really host our own shows. We can have our own narrative. We can have whatever the heck we want to put on TV. So,
and that's on
period.
Who?
Periodical table with little Janet. Y'all don't look like Janet today. That's definitely a pioneer. So, do you have any more fun facts or misconceptions?
So, another misconception is, do you know who Fannie Lou Hamer was?
Big Fannie. Yes.
So I had watched a documentary about her life. One of her, well, it wasn't one of her daughters, but someone, I forgot what the woman's name was. It was in New York, and she had done a documentary on Fannie Lou Hamer's life, and she had used her daughters as reference points. Or / her granddaughters as reference points. And I think that she was amazing. Honestly, to me, between her and Winnie Mandela, I think both of them were pioneers for black women. Yes, pioneers for black women across the globe. I think Fannie Lou Hamer brought to the forefront things that black people were enduring while living within the civil rights movement. Even before then, she spoke about how her grandparents were slaves, and when she was 8 years old, she was helping in the field, and she was helping with being a sharecropper, and she had seen one of the fellow sharecroppers become lynched or get lynched because he wanted his wages for sharecropping. It wouldn't pay him, and because he asked
For his money.
to get paid, because how dare he work and want the money that he's
yeah, that's crazy of him.
right? How dare he? You know, being considered a human. Once again, I think we're aliens.
Right,
Must be.
I think so.
And you know, he ended up being lynched. Till that's one thing that she experienced at the age of 8. And later on,
that's why I feel like as a black culture, we need to definitely think about our emotional intelligence and think about our mental health, because to me, this is how I feel, we're still experiencing battles that our ancestors had to go through that we're still dealing with on today.
Right.
Like, I don't know what my ancestors went through, but I feel it every single day when I walk and when I go into my community and when I go to work. It's like things they suffered and things that they have done in their life to where I'm able to be here today. But I feel like as a culture, we're still suffering from what our ancestors suffered from.
right, we're still dealing with trauma. We're still dealing with a lot of mourning. I think that spiritually, all of us are connected. You know, so sometimes we're feeling what our ancestors were feeling. You know,
Most
emotionally
definitely.
in our spirit. You know, and those are things that you have to unpack. You know,
Definitely.
so
Mental health, y'all, is so
Yes.
important for Black History Month.
yes, it is. And get you a therapist if you can, you know, afford it, or if your insurance has it. You know,
Right. For Black History Month, I'll put a link to some therapists that I know. It's like a website for Black therapists. I can't think of it right now, but I'll put that down there.
yeah. So with Fannie Lou Hamer was a black, strong, dark-skinned, beautiful sister. And she literally fought for the voting rights for black people, black women, to combat against the grandfather clauses and things of that nature. Jim Crow laws, things of that nature.
Yeah.
And she was a fighter. She
like
had
that.
endured a lot emotionally, physically, mentally. Like, she had gone through it. She ended up passing at the age of 60 from breast cancer.
And that's early.
Yes, that is. But a lot of people do not know that. A lot of people think that she ended up having children. Actually, she did not. So one day, she had a cyst on her ovaries, or a tumor on her ovaries. And when she went in for surgery to get removed, to get the cyst or the tumor removed, they ended up making her infertile. And apparently, in Mississippi during that time frame, there was a trend where they would, any black woman that would go in for surgery or go in for anything where they, you know, have to sedate you or something along those lines, or bring you under, they would make black women sterile.
They did that so in my family.
And this is something that happened often in Mississippi and even in other southern countries. So she woke up thinking that the cyst was removed and she wasn't actually able to have children anymore.
That's terrible.
Right. And she ended up adopting 2 people that was in her community, 2 young girls that was in her community. And one of the girls ended up dying from, I believe, pneumonia. And she ended up adopting her children as well. So she ended up not being able to have children. And later on, when she ended up getting breast cancer, she refused to get medical attention because she was afraid that they would do something to her like they had done when she was younger. But she did have a strong black man that stood next to her, who supported her. He wasn't a man that talked much, but he did stand by her. He stood next to her. And he kind of just stayed out of her way in a sense. But he let her be her.
You need that.
Yeah. She was
let me be me.
a very, very, very strong black woman. And she had withstand a lot of abuse back then.
Oh, Lord.
So that is a misconception about Fannie Lou Hamer. If you don't know about her, do some research. She's an amazing black woman.
So that's definitely a good misconception. My next, one of my last misconceptions are, you know, we often think of the triangular trade, the Atlantic slave trade, all those things, and we think that, you know, we reference the movie all the time from, what is it, Killmonger and Black Panther. We reference that a lot, where the brother was like, I'd rather die and see my ancestors, blah, 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 blah.
That was his cousin, sis. That was his cousin.
Well, that was his cousin. He was like, I'd rather die with my ancestors like they did when they jumped overboard. But fun fact, not necessarily fun, but fact is, of the 12.5 Africans that were brought from Africa to the Americas, less than 388,000 made it over here. A lot of them were killed, raped, you know, took the road of suicide, jumped overboard, many other things, and that happens. Got sick. You know, a lot of the Europeans, if you come from Africa and you come from Europe, today we get shots and things of that nature. But a lot of them gave the Africans diseases and they died that way too. So unfortunately, rest in peace to those people. Rest in peace to our ancestors that were not able to make it here.
Right.
But that's like a lot of people that did not make it.
No.
Not even 1 million people made it over here during that. So I wanted to shed light about, you know, we have come a very long way, but we still have extremely a lot of work to do. But think about what they suffered,
right,
and endured just every day to just try to make it. Some people's objective in that day and time was just to make it to the next day. So I want to shed light and for us to always wake up and think about those people that sacrificed themselves and their lives over here for the betterment of other people, for things that I didn't even know they were sacrificing their lives for, and now they made history. And you can go into, I used to work for the Department of Archives of History in South Carolina. You can see a lot of the slave signatures that made it over here and what boat they made it. So you can just look and fill those pages and really digest and understand, like, you know, while they were signing those papers, what were they going through? While they were signing their name on this roster, they didn't know that they would be part of history. So every day that you wake up as a black person, you don't know that one day you may be part of history in a good way. You may shed light, be a mentor, or do things for the community and shed light for being a black person, being a black mentor, being a black instrument of change. So those are one of my last misconceptions. Do you have any more?
Yes. And for the last one, I would like to talk about Charles Drew. Charles Drew was a scientist, a doctor, you know, and he was a individual that created, he's the reason why a blood bank was ever created.
That's very needed.
Right. You know, and with having a blood bank, you're literally able to save lives.
Right.
You know, for people that need blood transfusions and things of that nature. He literally had created a way to separate the blood and the plasma from one another to store it for longer periods of time.
A black person did that?
Yes.
Wow.
Right? How dare we create an invent?
That's awesome.
Back then, it was harder for them to store blood because it wouldn't store for a long period of time. So
it wouldn't store for longer than a week.
Yes. So he ended up creating a way to separate the plasma, which then gave them a way of storing the blood for a longer period of time. Now, a misconception was the fact that a lot of people welcomed his invention. Now, they welcomed his invention, but did not welcome him. He began to, I believe he started to work at Howard at some point in time.
The Malcolm.
And basically, he ended up getting into a car crash at the age of 46. He ended up getting into a car crash, and the nearest hospital, because you know they were still in North Carolina, may I add. And when he got into the car accident, he needed blood. The nearest hospital was a white-owned hospital, and there was still segregation, so he wasn't able to get to the black hospital because it was actually the farthest hospital.
I hate that.
So he went to the nearest hospital, which is a white hospital, and they refused him medical attention.
And he created the building.
And he's the one who created. Essentially, you wouldn't be able to even get a blood transfusion because of this man. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's the one who created it. He invented it, and they would not allow him to use the one thing that he created for himself.
That is crazy.
Yes, so they literally left him outside to die, and that's exactly essentially what ended up happening. He ended up passing away outside and bled to death. So that is one misconception about Charles Drew. If anybody hasn't ever heard of him, you should definitely look it up. I learned about him in like elementary school, and I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, it is. This is supremely interesting.
Yes.
Lord.
So I believe that might actually be my last misconception.
All right. Well, it's Black History Month.
Yes,
I
it
hope we
is.
brought you the news. We brought you the information. We brought you the fun facts, the misconceptions, the little history facts. B stands for billionaire.
Oh.
You know.
AB.
And I hope everybody watching in the rest of 2021 is on the way to their $1 billion goals, on the way into what is meant for them. And take it. Don't accept no for an answer. And I'm just glad you guys watched this video. We had fun recording this.
We did. I think both of us have a love for Black history.
Yes,
and
most definitely.
I definitely think that this video is well needed. I really hope that y'all watch it all the way through and get to this point. Definitely give this video
Put in the comments and let us know if you made it to the end.
Yes.
Let us know if you made it to the end. Say I made it to the end in the comments.
Yes. See, now if you watched it and then make it to the end and then didn't comment, we wouldn't even know. You know what I'm saying? So we watching you.
What's your IG for the folks real fast?
So you can find me on Naturally Rebellious. Naturally Rebellious. It's naturally_rebellious. Or I'm somewhere on Mariah_Live5 page. You know, or I'm somewhere in the comments.
Yes.
Acting a mess.
As per usual.
Yes, as per
usual. If you guys have not subscribed, don't know what you're doing, go ahead and subscribe right now.
Yes.
Click that button, subscribe to your friends, to your folks, and actually share this video for Black History and let them know about fun facts, show it to your classes. Do what you gotta do. But also make sure you follow me on my Instagram at Mariah_Live5 and my travel page, Mariah's Travel Guide _. Always follow Mariah's Soapbox. We got some good stuff coming up for you. And we thank you so much. We're extremely thankful. I'm extremely blessed to have you guys who do support me. Any amount of support is amazing. And I love you guys. Happy Black History Month.
Happy Black History Month. Love your melanin, baby. Because
don't folks your head.
We are working a lot. Okay.
Run to the camera.
Run to the camera.
Let's see.
Oh,
let it focus. Hold on.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, and my shirt.
Little purple ring, little prints on y'all.
Martin, Mandela for Winnie Mandela.
Shout out to Winnie.
Yes.
Oh, we love y'all. Peace out.